Why don't you trust yourself? And maybe your immediate response is, but I do. Maybe you do. But confidence isn't measured by how confident you feel when everything in life goes as planned, when everything in life goes well. It becomes visible in the relationship you maintain with yourself when there are things at stake, when things get wobbly. You can believe in yourself without being able to always depend on yourself. You can know you are capable and still, at moments, ignore what you know. You can appear extremely confident and still break your own word the moment that fear, pressure, love, money, rejection, or uncertainty enters your life. So maybe the question isn't, do I think I can trust myself? But maybe it's, does the way that I live gives evidence that I can? Because the opposite of self-trust isn't self-doubt. It's chronic self-betrayal. Why chronic? Because you barely ever lose self-trust all at once. You lose it in one abandoned truth, one ignored knowing, one broken promise, one moment of leaving yourself behind at a time. And when I came to that realization, when I came to that realization, I had to ask myself a different question. What if the problem isn't that you can't trust yourself, but that you have spent years on years and many individual moments proving yourself that you can't? And if that's true, maybe what you need isn't more confidence or self-trust, but more evidence that you can indeed trust yourself. Because self-trust and confidence aren't built by succeeding at something alone. Because if that were true, why are there still so many extremely accomplished people that have money, status, influence, whatever, who are still deeply insecure? Sometimes when you take the accomplishments away, they have no idea who they are without them. You can be confident in your ability to make money and still not trust yourself emotionally. You can become confident in your work and still abandon yourself in relationships. External success can give you the evidence that you are capable of doing something, but it's not necessarily the same as knowing that you can depend on yourself. Self-trust becomes embodied through something that is mostly invisible to the outside world. It's keeping your word. It's knowing that you are who you say you are, especially when no one is watching. Every promise you break to yourself becomes evidence against yourself. Others might not see it, but you know it. You feel it. And every word you keep towards yourself becomes evidence for yourself. So luckily it works both ways. Both. It's no surprise that we start to distrust ourselves when we are competing with years of self-abandonment behind the scenes. Consistent moments where You left yourself behind when you needed yourself the most. And it becomes even more confusing and painful when you know exactly what to do. Because then you end up thinking, I know better. Why do I keep doing this? And that's okay. Because that's where you will learn that just knowing isn't enough. When moments come along where you really need yourself, critical moments, and you consistently lack the capacity to apply what you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that your understanding or your knowledge is fake, but knowledge that you cannot reliably access under pressure is something different than dependable internal capacity. And I don't say that as criticism. I think, actually, that it means that you're ready for the next level. The level where what you understand starts to descend from the mind into the system, into actual behavior. Because we can all say beautiful things when everything is calm, when everything is working in our favor, when everything is going the way we want it to go. Everything is a mirror. Trust God, trust the universe, which are not necessarily the same thing. Everything happens for a reason. There's always another path. Fear is an illusion. Okay. But it's not really about whether you can explain those ideas and concepts when everything is beautiful, when you are calm and collected. The test is whether, when life closes one door, if you can remain steady enough to look for another handle instead of immediately declaring the whole fucking building closed. At a certain point, I started to ask myself a very different question. An uncomfortable one. But who am I and what do I actually practice when I'm under pressure? Not what do I teach other people, not what do I believe intellectually, not what knowledge I've picked up along the way, or what language I can use to explain it. And listen, I love language. I love words. I love etymology. Give me a word and I will probably investigate where the fuck it came from and how I can create a nice sentence with it. But what do I do? What are my consistent actions when reality becomes inconvenient? What are my consistent actions when life, reality, my 3D, becomes inconvenient? And let's be clear, we are in this together, okay? I'm not speaking to you from the mountaintop. I speak to you from the path. My intensity mainly comes from my deep commitment of consistently going through the process of alchemizing unwanted experiences into wanted ones. Yeah. And embodying the things that I speak about. And that is a continuous process of refinement. Because I believe that to believe in something is to be alive in it. All the lessons I share, life taught me the hard way. I'm not interested in becoming another person that sounds wise. I don't believe that that is a breed that will die out anytime soon. I don't. I'm only interested in being someone that actually lives what they know. I'm not a they, but fuck. I'm only interested in being someone that actually lives what she knows. And the only reason that I share those things is because it's the only process that I've watched completely change my life. For me, one of the biggest forms of self-trust was having the ability to hold myself down. Learn through the inability of others to do that for me. How blessed I am. It's not sarcastic at all. It's the greatest gift to know that even under the most difficult circumstances, I got me and I'm not immediately disappearing on myself. Because that very thing is by far the number one thing that contributed to my suffering when it comes to things that were within my control. And self-abandonment can look like a million different things. Escaping, creating more damage when you are already hurting, caring about everyone before yourself, constantly putting yourself last, not saying what you really want to say. It can also look like intoxicating yourself because for a moment you don't want to experience your own existence exactly as it is. Or I would say that you don't always have the capacity yet to fully embrace and invite the raw human experience without opting out, which I fully understand. It's a little rough in these streets. Mother Earth can be relentless. She be having her own little luteal phase, whatever. But I get it. I do. Listen, I still have a little rebel in me. I don't even know if little is the right wording here. But even after 4 years of being clean from the hard stuff, the party stuff, there can still be parts in me that are like, let's try some shit. Let's experience something. Let's get wasted. Let's wake up in another resort. Oh, man. You won't understand where I got this from. Oh my God. Point being, I understand wanting intensity, stimulation, novelty, to experience something different. Although there are other ways. There are other ways and there are quick ways. I want it and I want it fast. Get yourself together. But especially when you have experienced a lot in life, normal life or simply getting your shit together can feel kind of dull, mundane. But I think there is a profound difference in the why behind what you are doing. Exploration in itself is not automatically self destruction, but consistently damaging yourself, your body, your spirit, your mental state as a coping mechanism is not chic. It's not chic. And every time you learn to recognize that distinction, to use discernment and act accordingly, you create evidence. You expand the capacity to truly hold yourself, which eventually expands the capacity to hold more of the life that you truly want and deeply desire. That's why I think that self-trust compounds. You keep your word, that creates evidence, evidence creates trust, Trust creates a greater capacity to stay coherent when life gets difficult. And the more capacity you have, the more capacity you have built within you, the more you are able to hold without immediately destroying, abandoning, escaping that what you worked so hard for to create. So instead of only asking, how do I get more? There's another question worth asking. And that is, do I currently have the capacity to hold what I'm asking for? Because getting something and being able to hold it are two very different things. And this is why I want you to ask yourself something very honestly. What kind of person do I choose to be when life becomes challenging? When life becomes difficult, when life becomes unbearable? Not if everything is flowing, when everybody loves you and everybody behaves the way you wish. They never do. Not when money comes in, when you feel great within your body, when God seems to answer within 5 business days. Who are you when things get hard? Because those moments give you an incredible opportunity to increase your capacity. Not through self-punishment. No. Absolutely the fuck not. But through practice. And if you have lost a lot of trust in yourself, don't use this episode as another reason to beat yourself up. That would defeat the whole fucking purpose, okay? Fuck. Ask a different question. What am I learning now that I probably couldn't have learned in any other way? Sometimes losing trust in yourself is the very experience that you need to realize what an actual relationship with yourself requires. And that relationship is a pretty good investment if you ask me. Because wherever you go, there you are. You will always take yourself with you. Knowing that you can depend on yourself is foundational. And I think we can absolutely simplify the crap out of everything else. But what do I know? They say knowledge is power, but the application of knowledge is wisdom. And to live in wisdom is to live in freedom. And it's your willingness to put that what you already know to the test that creates self-trust. Because so much of the friction and the self-inflicted pain within our lives comes from consistently going against that what we already know to be true. Against the truth of who you are. And I hate seeing people suffer unnecessarily. I hate it with passion. I think it's an absolute waste of your God-given genius. The time that you have here. The ability to create and experience the life that you actually want. To experience the life that you actually want and deeply desire. And when I say the truth of who you are, I don't only mean spiritually. Because applying what you know often doesn't look mystical at all. Sometimes it looks like making the fucking phone call. Investing in yourself more than you feel comfortable with. Knocking on the door. Asking for help. Saying no, saying yes. Leaving, staying, and actually doing the work. Sometimes the work is learning how to simply be. Sometimes the work requires actual, physical, consistent action in the 3D. That's up to you to decide, based on where you're at in life. Either way, spiritual principles often become alive through very ordinary movement. That's why spiritual performance can become so hollow. We can become fluent in the language of transformation while being unwilling or sometimes genuinely unable to perform the small daily actions and movements that real transformation requires. And again, movement doesn't necessarily mean hard labor. No, 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 no. That's not what I said. But this is where compassion and responsibility have to exist together. Because under immense pressure, you can temporarily lose your access to things that you genuinely know and understand. There are situations in life that fuck, leave me alone. Do we have another word for this? There are certain situations, instances, that can narrow your capacity. That doesn't automatically mean that your understanding is fake or that you are some fraud that didn't know anything all along. Oh, fraud. It doesn't mean that you are some fraud that knew nothing all along. But as long as you listen and you are honest with yourself, it shows you exactly where the things that you know still have to descend from the mind into the system, into behavior. And if you want to make this all practical, I think there's a question you can continuously ask yourself. Where is the behavior that proves this belief, the belief that I have, alive within my life? So I love myself. Where's the behavior? I trust myself. Where's the behavior? I believe there's always a way. Where's the behavior? I deserve better. Where's the behavior? Where's the behavior? Where's the evidence? Because self-trust is the... Where's the evidence? Because self-trust is an inherent byproduct of accumulated evidence that you can. And you don't have to prove anything to anyone but you. Because your system is only watching you. You are continuously teaching yourself who you can truly depend on. All the philosophy in the world means very little if it disappears as soon as your reality, your 3D, becomes inconvenient. And self-trust isn't always making the right decision. I think that's very unrealistic. Self-trust is more knowing that whatever happens, I don't abandon myself. That even when you don't exactly know what to do, you will still stay present with yourself. You will listen. You will adjust. You will find another handle. You will always find a way to stay. Hold yourself down. Damn it. Ultimately, life doesn't care about how sophisticated our philosophy sounds. Our experiences are shaped by the decisions, the behaviors, the movement, the actions that philosophy produces. I'm sorry. Your life becomes the mirror you can look into and find your answers. But don't just look, feel. How does it actually feel to be alive inside your own life? Because once you decide to trust yourself fully, another question becomes nearly impossible to avoid. And that is, which voice within me deserves to be trusted? And I think that that's where things really get interesting. I know this shit can get uncomfortable as fuck. But if you fuck with this shit, shut. But if you fuck with this shit, subscribe, leave your opinion in the comments.